So you've been looking to buy a new phone, but the budget that you currently have does not allow you to own the latest and greatest technology. Not everyone can afford the latest iPhone 13 or the S22 Ultra or whatever. So you've been looking for, relatively cheap, on budget smartphones. Today I have some suggestions for you guys that are relatively cheap with great technology, that come with great technology. But first, I want to recommend you something, which is to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would help. Thank you. Don't like the video now, like it at the end, of course, as I always say. And let's get into it. So the first phone that I want to recommend you is the Xiaomi Poco X5. This phone is great. This phone actually hasn't came out yet, so it is going to come out. If you're interested by it, I would recommend you hold a little bit instead of rushing and buying something and this one comes out and you miss out on it. So the Poco X5 comes with a 6.6-inch display, LCD capacitive touchscreen, 16 million colors, 1080 by 2400 pixels, 20:9 ratio, Corning Gorilla Glass 5 HDR, 120 Hz refresh rate, and 450 nits brightness as advertised. So it is kind of bright. I'm not going to lie to you. It comes with 4 cameras on the back, a 64 megapixel camera wide angle, a 13 megapixel ultra wide, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth. 4K for video, 30 frames per second, 1080p at 30 and 60 frames per second, and 720p at 960 frames per second, so super slow motion. On the front, you get a 20 megapixel wide lens. It comes with Android 11, 8 gigabytes of RAM, and 12 gigabytes of RAM, 64 to 128 gigabytes, 64 to 256 gigabytes of storage. Battery, it comes with 6,000 milliamps per hour. So this shit can go on for days, 2 days. You can go on for 2 days, completely using it like, excruciating use, and it would not turn off. So it has great battery capacity and battery life. And you can get all of this at the price of $500 to $600. So it's a great phone. I recommend it, and I would recommend you go ahead and check it out. And if you're interested by it, of course. If you're not, I would recommend this phone, the second one, which is again by Xiaomi, but this one is the Redmi Note 11 Pro. The Redmi Note 11 Pro comes with a Super AMOLED 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10, 700 nits, so bright screen, 1200 nits peak, so it's super bright outside for the outside conditions, for going outside and sunny days. 6.6 inches, 6.67 inches exactly. It has an 86% body screen to body ratio, so it's a big screen. You can do whatever you want with it. It's not going to be a problem. Watching videos, of course, watching this video and videos of mine, of course, if you subscribe to my channel. Again, platform. It comes with Android 11. The memory, you got micro SD, so you have the expandable memory storage up to 1 terabyte, your choice. You got 64 gigabytes and 128 gigabytes at 6 gigabytes of RAM, and 128 gigabytes at 8 gigabytes of RAM, UFC 2.2. Cameras, you got quad cameras, so that means 4 cameras in the back. You got a 108 megapixel wide lens, of course, 8 megapixel ultra wide, 2 megapixel macro, and 2 megapixel depth. Again, LED flash, HDR, and panorama, 1080p at 30 frames per second for video, and that's on the back. In the front camera, you get a 16 megapixel lens, wide lens, of course, at 1080p, 30 frames per second for video also. So yeah, This one I would recommend it. It's cheap, it's relatively cheap, and it comes at the price of 300 bucks. So you can get, if you go for the 265 gigabytes, 8 gigabytes of RAM, maybe it would cost you around 400 bucks. Great phone for that fucking price. Fuck, can I not speak English today? And again, it's up to you. If you are interested by that, you can go ahead and purchase it. If you're not interested, it's up to you. But let's just say you're not interested by these brands like the Xiaomi and the Redmi, even though they are one brand, but one is Xiaomi, and one is Xiaomi Redmi. You know what I mean? But let's say you're not interested in these brands, you don't trust them enough, and you want a brand that you can trust. So I have a Samsung in here, which is the Samsung A72. It comes around the price of 500 bucks, but for the specs that it offers, it's great phone. It's a great phone. So it has Super AMOLED, 90 hertz refresh rate, so it's not as fast as the previous phones, but it would do for the budget. It would do. You have to compensate when you have a budget. 800 nits, so this one is also bright for the outside. 6.7 inch screen, 84.4 screen to body ratio, Corning Gorilla Glass 5, always on display. The platform, Android 11. Memory, you got, of course, expandable storage, micro SD, up to 1 terabyte of storage, and you get the 128 gigabytes at 6 and 8 gigabytes of RAM, and also the 256 gigabytes at 6 and 8 gigabytes of RAM. So you have the choice, you have the storage, and you can expand upon that. On the back, you have 4 cameras, quad camera again, 64 megapixel wide, 8 megapixel telephoto, 12 megapixel ultra wide, and you get a 5 megapixel macro LED flash panorama and HDR. For video, you get 4K 30 frames per second and 1080 at 30 and 60 frames per second gyro. For the front, you got a single camera, 32 megapixels wide, HDR 4K videos again for the front, which is amazing, at 30 frames per second and 1080p at 30 frames per second, but you cannot go to 60 frames per second on the front camera. The battery for this one is 5,000 milliamps per hour, fast charging at 25 watts. A Samsung, and it's an A series. But let's say you don't want an A series, you want an S series. You can always go for a previous generation. You cannot get the S22, but you can get the S21, not the S21 Ultra, the S21, the regular one, for the price of 600 bucks, I guess. And we all know the features on the S21: 64 megapixel camera, 6.2 inch screen, 2400 by 1080 pixels, Exynos 2100 by Samsung, 8 gigabytes of RAM, 4,000 milliamp per hour battery. You get the gist of it. We've all seen videos about the S21. So yeah, these have been my recommendations if you want to get a brand new phone but you're on a budget. Again, as I said, it is okay to have a budget because not everyone can afford the latest technology. If you enjoyed these recommendations and you want to consider one of them, go ahead and do that. And my video was helpful to you, can go ahead and subscribe to my channel, like the video, leave a comment down below saying that it helped, because when you say that, it helps me make more videos to you guys on budget. The regular guys like me, when I say guys, I mean all of you, men, women, and other, it doesn't matter. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Again, see you in my next one. Peace.